Hey guys, we're going to jump right in to another video. This is Slope of the Line, which is 8th grade book 4.2. So write 8th 4.2 up at the top. And our learning intention is to find and interpret the slope of a line. You'll know you are successful with this when you can explain the meaning of a slope, when you can find the slope of a line, and when you can interpret the slope of a line in a real life problem. So here's a couple things that you need to know about slope and how to find it. Slope is the vertical change over the horizontal change. And it's represented by the letter M. So this is two different ways that you can look at slope. Slope is M, and we do our rise over our run. So let's look down here really quick. When you have 2 points and you are going over to connect them, just kind of like what we did with the Pythagorean theorem, you have your rise is when you go up or down if it's negative, and then your run is from left to right. So our rise goes at the top of the fraction, and our run is at the bottom. Slope represents the rate of change. Slope should be written as a fraction in simplest form. That's why it looks like that over here. So your rise over your run, or you would write y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And for this right here, I have a little note for you. In the slope formula, x1 is read as x sub 1 and y2 is read as y sub 2. These numbers that you see here are called subscripts. Okay, so we just call them y sub 2, y sub 1. And then here, we're going to fill this one in. Lines with positive slopes rise from left to right, and lines with negative slope fall from the left to right. Okay, so look at this one. It is rising from left to right, so it is a positive slope. Here's a couple different types of slope that you're going to be seeing in this unit and maybe a little bit after this too. So positive slope, we learned, rises from the left to the right. Negative slope falls from left to right. Now zero slope is a straight horizontal line. We'll add some arrows to both sides here. And an undefined slope is a vertical line going straight up and down. So a zero slope would be horizontal. An undefined slope is vertical. Okay. All right, let's move on and actually see if we can apply this. Okay. So to find slopes of the line, you're going to describe the slope of each line, then find each slope. So there's two different ways that we can do that. So we're going to look at this side first. So we know that the line rises from left to right, so the slope is positive, right? So let's put positive here. You're going to use the graph to find the rise and the run, sorry for the ruin, of the line. So remember, rise is when it goes up or down, run is across. And in this case, we see it has different colors. So your rise is red, your run is blue. And so we're going to go over here and find our rise, which is 5, and our run, which is 6. So 5, 6. And that's our slope. So there's another way to do it where we would use our subscripts. So y sub 1, and y sub 2, x sub 1, x sub 2. So we're going to use that equation to be able to, or the formula, sorry, to be able to find it. So in this case, the line falls from left to right, so the slope is negative. So we're going to use the coordinates for x sub 1 and y sub 1 to equal -1 and 1, and x sub 2 and y sub 2 to equal 1, -2 to find the slope. So if this is my y sub 2, so this will be my y2 here, this is my x2, this is my x1 and my y1. So let's see, I'm looking for y2, which is -2 and 1. So -2 minus 1, because that's what my formula says. I subtract the y sub 2 minus the y sub 1. And then x sub 2 is my 1. And I'm going to subtract that from a -1. But when we subtract a negative, we actually are adding it. So -2 minus 1 is -3. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. So our slope is -3, 2. And you'll see here by our rise and run that was already created in this, that's going to give us the same answer. Here's my -3, and here's my 2. Okay, so the methods in these parts show that you can find the slope of the line by using the graph. So if I take 2 points that sit perfectly on the line, and then I make my triangle, essentially just like we did with the Pythagorean theorem, then I will be able to find my rise and run because I go count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's where I got my 6, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how I got my 5. So you can either use the graph or if you can use the formula, because sometimes you're going to have the points. So you're going to have your plotted points here, but you're not going to have a graph, and that's when you're going to want to use this formula. Okay, let's look at a couple different ones. So let's see. We're going to use the formula y sub 2 minus y sub 1 equals, or over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So let's look here. So this is our x1, y1, x2, y2, or sub 2. So we'll say 5 minus 5, and 6 minus -1, which would be 6 plus 1. 5 minus 5 is 0. And 6 plus 1 is 7. So if my y comes out 0, then I have a 0 slope. And so as we looked at the front, 0 slope means that it's horizontal, so it just goes left to right. So that's why my line is straight across, because my slope for y is 0, okay? And then let's look at this one. We'll go x sub 1, y sub 1. X sub 2, y sub 2. So we'll say 2 minus 6, and 4 minus 4. 2 minus 6 is -4. 4 minus 4 is 0. If my x is 0, then it is going to be undefined, because it'll be a vertical line that goes straight up and down, which anything that multiplies or divides by 0 is 0, right? So our slope is 0. So it'll be, but if the 0 is on the y, then it's horizontal. If your 0 is in the x, it's vertical. So the slope of every horizontal line is 0. The slope of every vertical line is undefined. So you're going to try that down here. You're going to try 2. 1 is a positive slope, 1's a negative slope. See if you can find the rise and run. So you can find your slope. So you can either go this way, connect the points and figure it out, or you can use the y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1 formula to solve those. And then these ones, you're going to find the slope of the line through the given points. So I want you to plot these points, draw your line, then find the slope of the line after you've plotted those points. Okay, let's look at the last page here. This one is on parallel lines and slopes. So lines in the same plane that do not intersect are called parallel lines, which we know, right? Non-vertical parallel lines have the same slope. All vertical lines are parallel. So they have the same slope like this one. Here's our slope 1/2, and this one has the same slope 1/2. So they are parallel lines. How do we find this out? So which lines are parallel? How do you know? So I have a blue line, a red line, and a green line, and I am going to find the slope of each. And as you can see, we used our formula here. So when we worked out this whole problem, putting in the points that we had for each line, our slope became 4, 5, and 4. So the slopes of the blue and green lines are 4. The slope of the red line is 5. So that means the blue and green lines have the same slope, so they are parallel. I want you to look at this what if question. This is one you do need to do by yourself. The blue line passes through -4, -3, and -3, 2. Are any of the lines parallel? So what if we change the blue line to go through these points instead? Would that change its slope to match another line's slope up here at the top? So use your formula. So use the y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1 and solve for your slope to see if the slope will change. Is it going to remain 4? Would it be 5 now? And so it would line up with the red line. You solve that one, and then you'll be done. Then you can check this off.